Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. It was a beautiful day, and thank you for coming this beautiful evening. It is 7 p.m. We are located at the county building on the third floor in the council chambers. With the Pledge of Allegiance, we've asked our county clerk, Tracy Shaw, to lead us that. Would you all please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tracy. Kendall Thomas has asked to be excused. As far as roll call, we have our county attorney, Scott Broadhead, here. Present, we have, as far as county council, Councilman Hoffman, Councilman Stromberg, Councilman Hamner, Councilman Wardle. For the managers team, we have Andy Welch, county manager, and Brittany Lopez, assistant county manager, and Tracy Shaw as our county clerk. Taking notes. Now bring us down to public comment. Is there any, by raise of hand, who'd like to make a public comment? Seeing one. Come on up. Jerry, how long you need? Okay.
So, first,
Would you just state?
Jerry Houghton, Tooele County Recorder Surveyor. Okay, one more time. Jerry Houghton, Tooele County Recorder Surveyor. So I've been asked as to the positions based on that letter we got from the State Tax Commission, where that money would come from. There were some thoughts that it should be coming from the state, that it might be able to come from MCAT. That's already been provided for in assessing and collecting out of our portion. Plus, it says the rest would, any shortage would be paid out of general funds. But as an example of where that money could come from, if you want to look at 9, line.
Are you talking about in the agenda? In the agenda?
Yeah. There's money there. So, thank you.
Okay. Minutes. We'll turn some, council would or the chairman recognizes Councilman Wardle.
Mr. Chairman, if we can amend the agenda tonight, we are not prepared to go forward with item number 5. So if we can postpone the item number 5 till next week. So I make a motion, we table 5 and move it to our next meeting.
Thank you. Hearing a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Stromberg. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those may oppose say nay. It sounds unanimous. Thank you. Bring us down to consent agenda, the check registry. Again, any check that is written by the county is online, and you can see any check that comes out from there. With that, Chair, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the check registry.
Hearing a motion from Councilman Stromberg, is there a second?
Second.
And a second from Councilman Hoffman. All those in favor of the check, approving the check registry, say aye.
Aye.
All those may oppose, say nay. That is approved. That will bring us down to discussion items, the RDA discussion. Allison.
All right, council, in an upcoming council meeting, we will be bringing before you dissolution documents for 2 county RDAs that have closed. The first one is Deseret Peak RDA, which is where Purple was, and the next one is the North Stansbury RDA, which is where Solberg's is down in Stansbury, that development area. Purple, the Deseret Peak one is closed because Purple no longer is in our valley anymore. The North Stansbury one is being closed because they have met their increment requirements in their agreement, so.
Okay. Wonderful. Any other questions or comments? So,
Does the Deseret Peak one involve the settlement agreement that was made between the county and the other entities with the RDAs in those areas?
I'm not
There's a
sure.
settlement agreement from Tooele County regarding all that property with the Romneys.
So this is separate from the Romney agreement.
Thank you.
Chair will entertain the motion. No, that's just discussion. Consent agenda, Iba Paul well bids. Jed.
Good evening, council. Thanks for having me. This project is one we're excited about getting the ball rolling on. It's the Iba Well project. If you remember, we received a grant last year from Water Smart Grant, which is Bureau of Reclamation. And this is like the first phase of executing that grant, which is drilling the well and getting that set up. We will have a well house and some pumping and tanks and some fencing that will come later, which is also part of the grant. But for this one, it's just the well portion. We did put it out for public solicitation and received 3 competitive bids. The lowest responsible bidder was a local vendor, Mike Zimmerman Well Service LLC, and it was in the amount of $239,006.30.
Okay,
What's the purpose of the well?
It's a backup for the water system out there if there's a fire, washing our equipment, wetting down the soil when we're grading the roads, dust control, that kind of stuff. And it will also serve as a backup culinary well for the community if their wells are down. In the past, Bucky and his folks have had to bring out pallets of bottled water at times. This will alleviate that as an issue for the community.
And you'll come back with it's an in-ground tank, is that correct? And the well house, is that what the second phase will be, second part of this?
Yep, when we put this project together, Ensign designed it, there's 2 5,000-gallon tanks that will be underground adjacent to a well house that will store the wellhead with some pumping and things like that, that will fill those tanks, which will help with storage for, like, pumping for fires and things like that.
okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Jed.
Thank you.
Chair to entertain a motion. Hear a motion from Councilman Hoffman. Is there a second?
Second.
Hear a second from Councilman Stromberg. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those may oppose say nay. That is unanimous on that. Agreement with the Black Forest of the 33rd Park. Rochelle?
Thank you, Chairman and council members. This is the first phase in the 33rd Parkway construction from SR 36 to Sheep Lane. There are a couple of streams, I wouldn't say flood channels, but there's some stormwater that dumps into a field that's created some streams that will go under the new 33rd Parkway. We do need to get those put into culverts before we start the design phase for the road. We did put it out to bid. We received 7 bids. We're asking it be awarded to Black Forest Paving for $1.2 million.
What part of 33rd Parkway is this? Is it
It's,
between,
this is between Sheep Lane and SR 36, yeah, where the culverts are going to be installed
I was
or
thinking that
on the west end.
Joe Wack is supposed to do the part.
Correct.
So I-
To Jubei, from Jubei to 36, yes.
Okay.
Can I just ask some clarification? So why are we doing this part right now compared to the bigger part of the project? What was the recommendation from UDOT?
You want me to bring that on? UDOT recommended we do the culverts outside of the road project because we do have some federal grant funding with the road project. If we wait and do the culverts with the road project, we will have to do a full-blown 9-month environmental study. But if they're in place prior, we can do the abbreviated 4-month CADEX.
Correct. But UDOT helped us speed things up, so we appreciate that.
Wonderful. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Rochelle. Chair to entertain a motion. Hear a motion, Councilman Hoffman. Is there a second?
Second.
Hear a second from Councilman Stromberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that may oppose say nay.
Thank you.
Okay, that is unanimous. That brings up the contract for the landfill access road. Wayne?
Good evening, council. This contract you have before you is for a project that is part of our master plan that was presented to you guys a couple of weeks back. We did do bid solicitations. We had 10 respondents, and Tough Excavating was the low apparent bidder on this. This project will allow us to move the road in an area on the outside of the landfill so we can start to utilize the middle portion of the cell where the road is currently running. And so it'll give us an opportunity to utilize more space in there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So, see none. Thank you, Wayne. Chair to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Hear a motion from Councilman Strongberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Hear a second from Councilman Wardle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those may oppose say nay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. Jail facility roof liner replacement. Nathan.
Good evening, council. The contract that's before you is for the Tooele County Detention Facility. Jason is leading the project to replace the roofing at the jail. This was put out for bid. We got the solicitations and the, I believe it was My Seamless Roof, commercial roofing that was awarded this. The amount is $197,580, and it was budgeted for as well, so,
It's important to have a good roof.
indeed.
Okay, any questions, comments? Council? Chair to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Hear a motion from Councilman Stromberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Hear a second from Councilman Hoffman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who may oppose say nay. That passes unanimously. Line item transfers. Allison.
All right, council, the line item transfer that we have for you tonight is transferring funds from one Deseret Peak phase to another, so that we can consolidate the counts. The transfers for $5 million.
Okay, that's one-time money. Any questions or comments, council? Okay. Chair to entertain a motion.
Make the motion to approve the line item transfer.
Hearing a motion from Councilman Stromberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Wardle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those may oppose say nay. That is approved. It brings us down to number 10, resolution and ordinances. Resolution 2025-19, amending and increasing the 2025 budget. Allison.
All right, council, you received a letter from the state auditor's office indicating that the budget hearing that was done on August 19th was not properly noticed, and so this is to redo that budget hearing.
Okay? And I need a motion to open up the public hearing. Is there a motion to open up public hearing? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, hearing a motion from Councilman Hoffman, a second from Councilman Strungberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those may oppose say nay. That is open. Public hearing is now open. Is there anybody in the audience by a raise of hand that would like to speak to resolution 2025-19?
I'll make a motion to close public hearings.
Seeing none, Councilman Hoffman makes a motion to close public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Stromberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those may oppose say nay. Public hearing is now closed. I will bring up resolution 2025-19, amending and increasing the 2025 budget. Chair to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Hearing a motion from Councilman Stromberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Hoffman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that may oppose say nay. That is passed on Resolution 2025. We are now talking on B, Resolution 2025-24, amending, increasing the 2025 budget. Allison.
All right, council, I have three budget adjustments for you. The first one is moving funds from the COG-directed fund for Tooele City's project for Drew Bay Road. This transfers for $1.475 million. The next two that we have are grant-based. One is for the EOC department for $138,360, and then one for the health department for $49,000.
Any questions or comments on that, Council?
Already paid for the Drew Bay Road, or is this the other portion of it?
I think this is just funding what we had,
This is the
Agreed to.
city's portion in front of the golf course when they did this project a year ago.
Gave them the money for that,
And
am I just wrong?
They just requested the funds, I believe is what.
they applied for it. Okay, Chair to entertain a motion to open up public hearing.
So moved.
Hear a motion from Councilman Strongberg. Is there a second? Second from Councilman Hoffman. All those in favor to open up public hearing on Resolution 2025-24, say aye. Aye. All those may oppose, say nay. Public hearing is now open for Resolution 2025-24. Is there anybody in the audience by a raise of hand that would like to speak to that specifically? Seeing none, Chair to entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Hear a motion from Councilman Strongberg to close public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Hear a second from Councilman Wardle. All those in favor of closing public hearing on Resolution 2025-24, say aye. Aye. All those may oppose, say nay. Public hearing is now closed. Chair to entertain a motion for Resolution 2025-24.
So moved.
Hearing a motion from Councilman Hoffman for approval on the Resolution 2025-24. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Strongberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that may oppose say nay. That sounds unanimous for Resolution 2025-24. That will bring us down to Resolution 2025-23, authorizing our auditor, Allison McCoy, to receive compensation benefits services on the Board of Directors for the local Utah Government Trust.
All right, council, this is an annual disclosure that's required by the Utah Local Governments Trust, just to let you and the public both know that I do receive compensation. It's $300 per meeting plus travel. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take those.
You buy donuts with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, this has been going on for some time. Is there a motion or any questions first? Council, any questions or comments? Not, Chair to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2025-23.
Thank you, Councilman Strongberg. Hearing a motion from Councilman Strongberg, is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Hoffman. All those in favor of Resolution 2025-23, say aye. Aye. All those that may oppose, say nay. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Brings us down to action items on number 11, presentation. Allison, on the 2024 annual financial statement, external audit.
All right, council, I am pleased to have with us tonight John with Larson and Company. Larson and Company has been a great partner with us in our external audits. They have a fantastic team that does a thorough job in looking at all of our financial information and making sure that we have everything accurate. I'll let John explain the audit and I'll wrap up at the end. So.
John, will you make sure that light's, okay.
All right, your favorite time of year, huh?
We always look forward to this.
The audience can now go to sleep. If not, I'll put you to sleep. All right. So I'm going to be brief on part of this. A lot of it's going to be pretty standard language. You guys have read the audit reports. Not a lot's changed. But what I'm going to do is I'll go over the opinions that we're required to issue, what the opinions are on, and then I'll go over the results of our audit, and then we'll go over the findings. I'll probably give a little bit more detail on the findings. That's probably where the conversation's going to end up anyway. So with that, we're going to start with the audit report. Always precedes the financial statements. So the first opinion we give is on your financial statements themselves. That's the primary scope of this audit. There's actually two audits that are going on at the same time. This one is primarily on the financial statements. It's an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. I know if you read the audit report, you're not gonna see those words. I can read the geek language if you want, but ultimately that's what it is. That just means that we haven't had to modify the audit report because of issues that we found in the audit that we did not understand, we couldn't test, or we didn't know what balances should be, therefore there's uncertainty. However, there was no modification, so it's an unmodified opinion. I'll just point out under the responsibility of management for the financial statements, these are your financial statements. Our job is to audit the financial statements and the disclosures to make sure that the balances are correct, that the disclosures are neutral, that they're clear, that there's not bias built into the notes. And also part of your requirements now, both Allison's office and you as a council, is to identify conditions or events that arise during the year that would prohibit you from continuing as a going concern for the next 12 months. The reason why I bring that up is because that's important. That's one of the new requirements. However, I believe that wording is gonna change. And the reason why is going concern really doesn't mean a whole lot for a government. The whole premise of why you now have this requirement is a direct result of what happened during COVID. We've talked about this before, you know, as well as I do, the economic downfall that happened during COVID. A lot of businesses didn't survive. Inside the state of Utah, governments did very well. However, outside they struggled, they had to get additional funding. There was a lot of federal money that was pumped into the system through the governments and then individually. But no governments ended up going out of business because of COVID, right? It's not like Tooele County is going to struggle and you're just going to go away. There's ways that you can get around that. So going concern really is an appropriate language for a government. So I believe that that's going to change, but the requirement is still the same, that you need to be aware about what's going on, forecasting, looking at trends. When I review my team's work, I'm actually going back 4 to 5 years and I'm looking at trends of your county to make sure that there aren't negative trends that start showing up. And that's because we also have that same requirement as auditors. We have to now look for those types of things and then have a conversation with you guys, with Allison's office, to make sure that you recognize that you've done the financial analysis, and then we can move forward. All right, so just remember there's a few sections in the financial statements that don't fall under this opinion. That's the required supplementary information. So that's the management's discussion analysis that always follows the audit report and precedes the financial statements. And then after the notes, there's going to be a section called required supplementary information, which contains URS information, certain budget schedules. Next year, all of your budget schedules will be in that section. It's no longer going to be part of the financial statements. Because they're not part of the basic financial statements, but GASB requires them to be with the financial statements all the time, they don't fall under our opinion. So they're considered unaudited sections of the financial statements. However, if you don't like to get down in the weeds of the numbers, if you're not a numbers person, I understand it. Read the MD&A. It's a very good place to read. If you're used to looking at private company financial statements, a lot of times they'll have comparative data between they'll present this year and then they'll present last year. Because of the nature of governmental financial statements and you're dealing with multiple funds, multiple different statements, there's not a lot of room to have comparative data, so that's all done in the management discussion analysis. So a lot of trends will show up in there. There's a lot of comparisons between last year and this year. It's a lot more dialogue instead of just raw numbers. So that's a good section to read. Even though it's considered unaudited, all of the data and the financial information ties back to the financial statements. All right, so the next report we're required to issue just outlines that we've performed your audit in accordance with government auditing standards. Part of those standards require that we look at your internal controls, A, to make sure that you have controls, B, that they're actually functioning, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. We can talk about controls, you can implement controls, but if you're not gonna do anything about it, they don't do you any good. So we make sure that that your controls that are in place are designed and are acting the way they should in preventing things from happening. There is one finding that we'll talk about, we consider it a material weakness, and when we get to the findings, I'll explain why. But that is something that we feel like should be focused on, and I know it is being focused on, and get corrected. All right, the next letter or report that we're required to issue, this one does also contain an opinion. This is for your federal single audit, so this is the second audit that's going on. This is on the federal money that you spend. Most counties have a single audit every year. What we're looking at here is we're looking at your compliance with your major federal programs as well as the controls over that compliance. So in this one, we're given a two-part opinion, or there's two parts that fall under our opinion, which is also unmodified or unqualified. We have to, every grant that you receive has certain conditions attached to it, based on the agency that you received it from. We have a compliance supplement that has all of the grants and what those agencies pick each year that they want tested as far as compliance goes. It's not limited to those. We have to look at the grant agreements to make sure that there's not extra things in there that you have to be in compliance with. And then we also look to make sure that you have the controls in place to make sure that you're not going to be out of compliance in the future. So two different parts. The next report that we're required to issue is for the state auditor. So each year the state auditor issues their state compliance guide, and they outline certain aspects of Utah State Code that they want us to test your compliance with. For the county, it was your budgetary compliance, so budget integrity. Justice courts, what we're looking at is their controls over the courts to make sure that money that's collected by the courts is actually making it to the bank. The fraud risk assessment, I think you guys know my opinion on that. I will mention a little bit later on, but we look at to make sure that you're actually filing it with the state. Now, in 2025, we're actually going to be going through that with Allison's office, making sure that everything you mark yes, that there's reasonable data that backs that up. The retirement systems, Open and Public Meetings Acts, the tax levy recognition, enterprise fund transfers, fund balance, governmental fees, restricted taxes, public treasurer's bond, cash management, and then impact fee collection. This also was an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. And we're also looking at your controls to make sure that you are in compliance. There were a couple of state compliance findings, one state compliance finding that we'll talk about. So those are the opinions that we were required to issue as part of the audit. Now let's talk about the findings. The first one we're going to talk about, this is the material weakness, and this has to do with the URS payroll issue. I'm sure you guys are well aware of it. You're probably tired of hearing about it.
Would you give us a page number that we can turn to?
Yeah, so this is page 130.
Thank you.
And I actually had a conversation with Andy about this last week, gave him a little bit more clarification on why we gave the recommendation that we gave. And I know that you've engaged an external audit firm, great firm. I have friends that work at that firm, and we work together on a number of engagements. So I've communicated with them. And what they've done so far is just pick samples of the payrolls to make sure that it's being done correctly. And by the end of 2024, which is the primary focus of our audit, that had not been done yet. As far as my understanding, that has happened in 2025. So payroll is now being done correctly as far as contributions to the URS. My concern with that as related to our audit is now it's beyond sampling. And so our recommendation is, in my world, when we typically sample is we'll take a population of a whole bunch of transactions and we'll sample those transactions. If we find a problem, we have to expand our scope, or we have to dig down more into the details and figure out what's going on. You know that there was issues. You know that there were incorrect numbers being reported to the URS. That's fine to sample that stuff to make sure, okay, now we know we're correct. Now you have to go back to where you know it was incorrect and work with the URS to say, let's look at the details. Let's figure out who was overfunded, who was underfunded. My guess is, yes, it's probably going to be an immaterial number when it's all said and done. There's overages and unders, and the net number is probably going to be hopefully a small number. However, Individually, they could be significant to that person. So our recommendation is, and this is what I talked to Andy about, was now go back to the IRS, and if it's 4 years, go annually and say, this is what this person was compensated for this year for each employee. What do you have as contributions for this period for this employee? You're not gonna have to spend all the money and the time to have somebody look at every payroll that's been done over the last 4 or 5 years. That's gonna be extremely costly for you guys. I think that you've probably already incurred a lot of costs just getting to the point where you're at now. So you might think that this is kind of a shortcut, but I'm kind of a high level guy. That's the easiest way to do it, is to look at it now annually per employee, work with the URS and say, what was contributed? Are they over, or are they under? What do we need to do to make it right? And then move on to the next person and then get to a net number. Yes, there's gonna be adjustments back and forth, and maybe there'll be a liability, maybe you'll have an asset that gets, credited. We don't know until we look at individual accounts. So basically what I'm saying is, now you know what's right, now you have to look at the individuals instead of looking at it as a total of, okay, well, we think we're good, but to those people, that's a significant amount. Does that make sense?
Can I just summarize what
Yep.
what our discussion was? And so, starting in '23, we look at what an employee who was on your URS, their gross salary, times the rate that we should be paying to URS, then we get what we should have given to URS.
Yes.
Then we check with URS what they actually received, and we match those things up. Is that in essence what
Yes,
you're,
and also whatever the employees contributed on their own.
on the own?
Yep.
Correct, thank you.
And for the retirement match as well.
Correct, yeah, on the
Yeah,
match
and
as
that'll
well.
all incorporate it, and I mean, the URS should have all of that information, they can tell you, they know what the rates are. So all that information is available. That's what I would talk to the external auditing firm and get that. I mean, you guys might be able to do that yourself. And we're happy to help however we can.
But that should be
Happy to have-
significantly easier than what we've
Yes.
gone through,
Yep.
so, okay.
And
thank you.
if it
Thank you for the
doesn't, if
clarification.
there's 2 or 3 employees where it's not working out that way, then you can
You dig into it.
dig down and maybe get into the 26 pay periods, but
Yeah.
why not start high level and get it done quicker?
Thank you.
So my expectation is this is taken care of next year. My hope by the end of 2025, this material weakness is gone. Hopefully payroll is being calculated correctly, and validated with the URS. There were a couple of prior year findings. The first one, we put that this one has been substantially corrected, because bank reconciliations are being done now. The reason why I say it's partially been corrected or substantially is it's still not being done inside the financial reporting system. That's something, me as an auditor, I would like to see that happening. It's fine the way it is right now, which is why it's not a finding. Accounts are being reconciled. However, control-wise, I feel it's better to have it done inside the system, rather than being done outside the system. So more of just a basic recommendation, not really a finding. And then the other prior year finding was the continuation of the payroll. We've already talked about that one. There was one state compliance finding. And this one I call it a state compliance finding because now we looked at it with compliance this year as part of the state compliance audit guide, but this is more of a control finding. And this is just, we will pull a number of receipts of revenue given to the county and make sure that that money is transferred or taken to the bank, deposited with your financial institution within 3 days. That's the state code. They give you that 3-day grace period, because some rural areas can't get to the bank, or it may be over a weekend. I like to see it done daily. It just so happens that one of the ones that we picked, the person responsible for depositing money was sick, and was out sick, I think, for the week, and so that deposit didn't get made. I think it was about a 7-day window. Not a huge concern. I think that you guys have controls in place, but just make sure that there's the cross-training. Wherever money is deposited, it doesn't matter where it is in the county. If you collect money somewhere, make sure that there is controls over that money to get that money from wherever it's collected to the bank. I would say daily, but the requirement is at least a minimum of 3 days, maximum 3 days, sorry. Okay. Any questions for me?
Excuse me, council, any questions? Ty, you had?
The only question I would have is on that one where the employee was sick and it was 7 days. Do we know, okay, Okay, so the employee was sick for 7 days. Has that employee been spoken to say, okay, let us know you're sick so somebody can pick it up or something like that, or what? What have you done to take care of it in that department?
Yeah, it was simply a mail issue where it came in the mail with paperwork, and we've discussed it, so.
Any other questions?
Yes. Last year, we had a pretty extensive list of things to clean up. Do you feel like there's been substantial progress on those issues and we're moving in the direction? Have we completed a lot of those issues that you were concerned about? That's where I'm going to start.
Yeah, substantial. I guess that's all relative.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I have high expectations.
good.
I don't expect perfection in a 3-month window. So that's where I'd say substantial is relative, because when we met, it was late year. However, when we came this year, there were a lot of things that we talked about that had been implemented. So maybe things aren't corrected yet, but the processes are implemented and are moving forward. So I would say if everything is substantially corrected, probably not yet, but you are quickly moving in that direction is how I would assess it.
So in understanding that, we should see that when we finish the 2025 audit.
Yep, that would be my expectation.
Okay. The second question I had is, when we talk about budget transfers, and I've come from a city organization, I've worked in other organizations, some of them public, some of them private, whether I've sat on a board, how often should we be doing budget transfers?
Do you want real life, or do you want the black and white answer?
I want the real life.
So black and white, I'll give you black and white. I'll give you both answers. How's that? Black and white says you cannot spend money unless it's budgeted for. If it's $1, it's $1, right? And that's by code. And code is actually pretty strict. I mean, if you whoever contracts the county to pay money and knows that there's not budget there, the county cannot enforce then, or it can't be enforced upon that county, and they will go off that after that individual personally. I've never seen that happen because reality is not everybody opens a public hearing every time something goes over budget, right? So I've talked to both Andy and Allison about this. There are certain aspects of the budget that you can do as on the department level, just inside the department. You can move account to account. And I really don't even care if you go over budget in one line item and you're under in another line item, as long as that department stays under the budget that was approved by the public, right? If it gets up to where you're moving money from department to department or fund to fund, it has to be notified to the council that that money is going to be moved around. There is a notification process for that. And then you take care of the issue. You have to have a public hearing if you're going to adjust any fund or overall increase or decreases in the budget. Then you have to open a public hearing. So I would say, to be safe, do it when you're increasing or decreasing the budget. Reality is most people don't do it until they open the public hearing to adopt next year's budget, and then they're going to amend this year's budget. It's up to you guys. So I mean, I like, if you want full transparency then to the public, then do it as often as you feel necessary.
So the practice we're involved with is a good best practice.
Yeah.
Thank you. That I mean, I've just had these discussions with other county councils or commissioners, and everyone does it different.
Yep.
And sometimes we may be accused of going overboard in transparency. We just want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like for Allison's office, I think it's probably a big burden to do it all the time when you don't need to. That's a lot of clerk type duties that really should be focused on auditing type roles, right? So I think that you could say, well, we're going to back off and we'll do it once a quarter or whatever, but once again, it's up to you guys. I've never seen a right or wrong. because I gave you the black and white answer. I mean, black and white says this is when you have to do it, but reality is there's people that do it once a year.
Okay.
So,
And then I think the last question I had, so I understand correctly, is that the way that we've been doing the Squire audit, much of that was started after we had the discussion last fall. And what you're suggesting then is a different way to get a result at a more efficient way to get there, at possibly a less expensive way to get
Yep.
there. Okay, that's what I was
yeah,
wondering.
and I think the concern was raised, and I think Andy's question to me was, hey, why are you telling us to get down in the weeds and the details? Because that's gonna cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? When you start looking at every single transaction, even in our audit, we don't look at every single transaction. We have a materiality level, we have an insignificant level. And so we're not looking at every transaction. Yes, we're testing balances to make sure the balances are materially correct and then an overall materiality. But at some point, if you know there's something wrong, sampling is not appropriate anymore, right? So if we sample and we have no deviations, we can project and say there's no deviations. But if you sample and say, we know what's wrong, at some point you have to get down in the weeds. What I'm saying is take a large period, because this is a very easy calculation to take a large period and figure out what should have been contributed or what wasn't contributed or over contributed, and test those numbers and say, this is what should have been. That way you're not looking at every individual employee, every payroll. That is gonna be insurmountable. It's gonna take you a long time.
Okay. John, thank you. I appreciate the audit and appreciate the comments, and there were some that were extremely helpful as we started looking at things, so thank you.
And you guys know I'm always available. I think Allison has me on speed dial, which I really, really appreciate. I love hearing from our clients. I mean, I have people that call me that aren't our clients that just ask questions, because the more information you guys have, it's easier to do your job and to do it right. So.
We'll put your name and number up on the billboard then. No, I'm teasing. Allison?
Council, I just want to thank again Larson for their efforts. I also need to thank my staff. This has been, I think the public's aware, you're aware, it's been an incredibly difficult year for our office. It's been incredibly difficult to bring this information forward to the council. I hope that going forward, again, as we share the information with you that John shared, that we can work on this information together collaboratively. And I just want to really recognize the efforts that my staff has put in to get us to where we are. And we do hope that 2025's audit is a much better situation.
And just let me just speak on that, because you didn't walk in and get everything. Her staff had things ready for you, had files ready that you asked for and got to. So it's not without a lot of effort on this side, so we
Yeah, and
recognize
there's
that.
kind of a trend, and I think you're gonna see legislation. I haven't heard of for sure, but across the state, there's this trend that a lot of the clerks and auditors have been combined. You're always hearing clerk auditor, clerk auditor. The problem is they're spending too much time doing the clerk side, not enough time in the audit side. And so that's a conversation that I'm gonna have with Allison and her offices. This is what your role is as the auditor. This is what you should be doing, and kind of expand that role of her being the auditor and helping the county and all the departments in functioning really as the auditor and not doing clerk type responsibilities. Because we know, I mean, I get it, elections are important and all those things, but a lot of the ones that are still clerk auditors, they don't do enough time, they don't spend enough time in their auditor role. They're doing what we're doing it on an annual basis, they're doing it more intimately. And they can do a lot more things. They can look at processes, they can look at, a lot of different things that we aren't here all the time looking at, right? That's what really Allison's role should be in helping the departments run efficiently and accurately. So just heads up, I'll probably be bugging you about that again.
Thank you.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
This is way in the weeds, but it just is helpful, I guess. And one of them is a net position that we have, and it's our third quarter Council of Government money. And so right now, it looks like you group mass transit, which is our third quarter money, and the corridor preservation is not split out. Because we have to keep track of it that way, because there's nothing there on those lines right now. I know it's all just grouped into mass transit. Is there a reason that it's not split between the two?
We do have it split. internally.
I think we do, but I think the audit has both of them there, but then there's nothing under corridor preservation. So I'm not sure if you just don't do that anymore, or,
That's up to you guys.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's a presentation that I would probably say recommend with Heather because she drafts.
okay.
So it's kind of how, like, what we make sure is that the money that's restricted is restricted, whether it's grouped together or,
Yeah, because it can only be used for one or the
Yep.
other, grouped
Yep.
together doesn't help a whole lot.
Yep.
It just, we have to be able to split it out.
so that's a presentation.
Okay, I mean, I just saw that it was there, but there was nothing in there. I was like, maybe you did it in the past, and it's just showing up there. That was my only question.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
Okay, thank you. Council, any other questions or comments? If not, then I need a motion to accept the audit as presented.
So moved.
Hearing a motion from Councilman Wardle, is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Stromberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those may oppose say nay. Here again, that will bring us down to boards and committees, and we have one here that, if you're okay, I'll speak to. Marty Brockman has submitted an application. Marty is the Chief Financial Officer at the hospital, Mountain West Medical Center, and he has put in an application to be on the audit committee. Marty has been here for 8.5 years in the county. He's a certified CPA, and like I said, he's the CFO for the hospital and continues to do that. All his children are raised. I don't know what you want to know about him, but anyway, he put in an application that he'd like to serve on the audit committee. Any questions about Marty Brockman? Okay. Chair to entertain a motion to approve. Hearing a motion from Councilman Hoffman, is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second from Councilman Strungberg. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those may oppose say nay. Okay, and then I just remind the council if you'd get those applications so we can get those in. And then we have various opportunities to serve on committees throughout the county. We'd ask that you go to the website, look at that. Historical Preservation, Housing Authority, Lake Point Cemetery, the Planning Commission, things of those sort. With that, we'll go to council updates. Councilman Hoffman.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, Councilman Strungberg.
Nothing from me.
Councilman Wardle. Okay, I will also surrender that, and we'll turn it over to the county manager. Updates.
Council, I just wanted to give you a little bit update on the pool. You'll see on the update we put on our social media this weekend, or on Thursday. We have water in our leisure pool. So part of the process of building the pool is making sure that it doesn't shift again. If you remember in some of the presentations we've talked about, it can't even shift 1/8 of an inch. So part of the process is that once the pool is ready, they would fill it and it has to settle for 30 days. And then they'll do some more testing to make sure that we're good and then move forward. So, but right now everything's looking A-okay, so.
Wonderful. Sounds good. If not, then chair to entertain a motion to adjourn. Hear a motion to adjourn, we are adjourned at 7:49 PM.